Hi everyone, this is Lada from astrolada.com, and today we're going to talk about numerology. It's an amazing occult science. Its numbers are integrated, numbers are everything basically, and I'm here with master numerologist Bea. She's from Australia. Hi Bea.
Hello, hi everyone. This is exciting. I'm so glad to talk about numerology.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here, Bear. We've been working together for more than a year now, and
Yeah.
I really want to get to know you better. Like I've seen your work, but like I want to get to understand also numerology more because I'm also a novice. I'm an amateur in numerology, and Bear today is going to explain to us the connection between astrology and numerology. What's the life number, the soul number, which even I don't know. And first of all, Bear, thank you for joining us. And can you tell us how you got into numerology and how long you've been doing that?
Oh, you know what? I'm not really a maths person, so typical that I'm into numerology. Why do these things happen? But actually, it's a good story. When I went to see a psychic in Adelaide when I was early 20s and just found him randomly, he's actually a really successful psychic. He's amazing. And he was doing my reading for me, and I saw him write down some numbers, and I leant over the table and I was like, what's that? What's that? Why are you doing that? And he saw how interested I was, so he explained the numbers to me and explained that he was using numerology. He uses very different techniques to a lot of other numerologists, and I haven't even been able to learn all his techniques. But numerology in general is it's basically the connection of the spiritual meaning behind numbers, and it's assigning spiritual power to numbers as well. So when you think about certain numbers, what do they incite with you? Even just the shape of the numbers and the way they relate to each other. Like the number 1 is so strong and solid and it stands on its own, and it's all about independence. So when I first saw him write down those numbers, I was so excited because to me it just seemed like such a simple way to explain really key things in your life. The more I did research, the less simple it became, but the more it really helped me understand myself. And that is what all these divination and these methods that we use, like astrology and numerology and tarot, that's what they're all about, understanding ourselves, right?
Yeah, so this can help basically. This session we're going to have today can help people even figure out their career and the best strategy, how to approach life, and what is the winning strategy, what they should avoid probably as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing with numerology that's a bit different is it's not that great for prediction, like really specific things. It's really good for predicting energy of, particularly in your personal years, like the year that you're in and what kind of energy is coming. But it's really, really mainly for predicting your personality and who you are and what you're here to do and the way you should live out your life. When I say should, I mean a good path for you to follow, which is the life path number. So there are 3 main numbers in numerology, which I want to talk about.
Okay, but I know that you also use tarot for specific predictions. You use tarot together with numerology, and I remember when you have the test reading with my tester, she said, this is one of the best readings I've ever had. You really have to talk with her immediately, because she told me, you told her specific things, really specific things.
Yeah. And that's where the tarot really helps. Like the tarot and numerology work really well together as well, because obviously there's numbers in those cards. So you've got the 2 of Wands, or you've got the 9 of Cups, or whatever. So you can use your numerology skills to understand the cards better. But the tarot is really great for doing that predicting. Like, are we going to talk again? Or is this X and I, are we going to communicate again? Yes, numerology will maybe tell me it's a good year for you to be connecting with people, but not necessarily this person. Whereas the card might show something like 2 of Cups or 3 of Cups. Well, if you do, it's going to be terrible. So you can start to combine the 2 methods, which is what helps with predicting. Yeah.
Yes, and they're all interconnected sciences, like you said. Numerology, tarot. So can you walk us through the 3 important numbers? You have your whiteboard. I have mine.
I do. It's a whiteboard conversation. Can you see all of that?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So basically, I want to talk about how we look at your birth date just like in astrology, but we also look at your name, which is where it gets a little bit different. So we assign numbers to letters. So, and that's how we calculate your name. So, for example, if you have the name, you know, let's choose an easy name. Hang on, sorry.
Mine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let's do Lada. That's a good one. Well, we're looking at straight away. I know something very important about the name Lada, which is it starts with a 3. So the starting number or the first letter in your name is really significant. And the 3, which I'll explain properly, is all about communication, expression, public speaking, and getting your voice out there. So we already know that makes a lot of sense to Lada, but let's assign all the names to just your first name. We usually, in numerology, we, where is it? 4.
Yeah,
we do your full name, and usually the name on your birth certificate, which is called the destiny number, which I don't know if that's the correct way to look at that number, but it's basically, yeah, it is, because it's what you're destined to do with that name. You can change your name, which we'll talk about later, but ultimately your name on your birth certificate is the energy you came into, just like your birth date. You can add and change it up and give yourself sort of married name and project name, business names, and they change and add to your energy, but you'll always have the overall birth certificate name, so that's really important. So let's look at Lada. So Lada, we have 3 + 1 + 4 + 1. So all we do literally is add it up. So 3 + 1 is 4, + 4 is 8, + 8 is 9.
Yeah.
So the name Lada equals 9.
Okay, so we just add the numbers. And if it's above 9, if it's 12 or 13, you add those two together as well, isn't it? Say it's 13, you add 1 and 3.
You do, but you pay attention to, like, I already know that there's 2 A's in your name here. So the number 1 in the back of my mind is also significant because it's a dominant number here, for example.
It repeats. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm paying attention to that. Also, if say your name had added up to like 23, I'd pay attention to the 2 and the 3 as well as the 5 that it equals. So it's not just the 9, and this also is just your first name. So when you think about, it's the name you use most often. So perhaps it's the way that people perceive you. They may not know you as your full name all the time, unless they call you, oh, Lada, they use your full name, but really they usually just say Lada. So this is how other people might perceive you, I guess. So with the 9, 9 is the last number in the sequence. Actually, in Indian numerology, which is called, I'm going to butcher this name, but I think it's called Chaldean or Chaldean, and it's used in southern India. They use a different system to the one I'm using here. I'm using a Pythagorean system, which is the most common. There's also a Chinese system. They're the 3 main systems, but the Pythagorean system is probably the most common. Now, the reason that the Indians don't use the number 9 in their system, so when they calculate the letters, they skip out the 9. They just go straight from A to I starts again at 1. So it kind of changes the value of the letters. The reason they don't do that is because the 9 is considered sacred. And it's sacred because it contains the energies of all the other numbers. It's like if you're on this passage, you start with the 1, which is a beginning number anyway, and the 9 is a number of endings. It's like as you go and journey through life, the 9 contains that really wise old soul. It contains all the other numbers in it. So people who have the name Lada tend to be perceived as quite wise. They tend to draw followers very easily because the 9 can't even help it. All the other numbers are following it, there are positive and negative meanings to all numbers. With the 9, probably a negative aspect is there can be difficulty with letting go of the past. You will see that if there's a lot of 9 in your other parts of your chart, with just your first name, it's not the strongest number, Well,
I wanted to ask something. What if I'm using Bulgarian alphabet? It's going to change the value, isn't it?
Well, you can use that, and I've tried because I'm Hungarian, so I've tried to apply the Hungarian alphabet, which is really just, it's slightly different, but I don't think it works the same. For some reason, the Pythagorean system works best. I don't know how to explain it yet, because I really got excited. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll find out more about my Hungarian name using the Hungarian alphabet.
Yeah.
I think more research needs to be done in that, to be really honest, but there's nothing that I've read or seen that proves that to be very strong.
What about a name like, say, like Matthew, when we have silent double T's and H and do we still count them in the same way?
Absolutely. And the thing that's interesting is that's where spelling, how people mess with the spelling of their names, why it changes. So someone who's called like Tyra with a Y, and then someone else who's a Tyra with an I, different numbers.
Really?
This is why it's important.
Life purpose change, life number, is that called?
Yeah. Well, when you add up your full birth name, it's called the destiny number, and it's sort of like what you're destined to do, what your outcome in your life will be. So you use this system. So anyone who's watching right now, check out your name and check out your numbers, and as I speak more about what each of the numbers mean, you can start to understand what you're ultimately here to do. But
do you check just the first name?
Or the full name, but not just as you write it on your birth certificate.
So if people are calling me just Lada, I still have to say Lada Ivanova Duncheva and calculate all of them.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that this isn't still significant, because this is what people don't call you your full name.
No.
So this is how other people see you as well, you know, and also how you choose to present you when you introduce yourself. Hello, I'm Lada. You don't say, hello, I'm, your full name.
Yeah.
So this is still really significant. Also, it's really significant if you choose to skip out your middle names, for business purposes, or say people who are going into fame, they sort of shorten their name so it's not convoluted and it's simple and it's easy to remember. Or maybe they use their middle name instead of their first name as their first name. So all these things change kind of not alter your ultimate destiny, but it alters how you express yourself through these different personalities and how other people want to see you. Another example is, say someone's full name is Matthew, but people call him Matt.
Yeah.
So what people are doing, and he hasn't asked them to call him Matt, but they just naturally call him Matt. They're not seeing his full name. They're choosing to see a limited version of him. They're just seeing M-A-T, they're not even seeing his full potential ultimately. So, and then how some family will call you different cute nicknames because that's how they perceive you.
For a person to be called their full name then, so they express their full potential.
Not always, because sometimes, say for example in business, you don't want people to know all aspects of yourself. Maybe you only want people to know a certain part of who you are, the business side of who you are, Or with friends, you share a fun, happy, playful side, but say your name is quite a serious number. Maybe it's good that they see you in that light because the connection for you is stronger that way. So it does get complex, but what I would definitely suggest is the most important thing that you look at is your full name, because that's the real revealer in terms of what you want to know about yourself. Yeah. When we look at your interactions with other people, that's when we look at your other names.
And so the name defines how you present yourself, or
in it kind of changes the way you get to your destiny. So yes, it can change the way you express yourself for sure, because in your name there is something called an expression number and a heart's desire number, and then ultimately the destiny number. But I'll explain actually. So we know that with the name Lada, when we work out heart's desire, we look at the vowels. So the A and the A is 1 and 1 is 2. So with the name Lada, heart's desire adds up to 2. So I'm going a little bit more into detail about the name information, but the vowels give us information about what the heart wants, how it wants to express itself. And what the heart wants for you is union, partnership, love, peace, acceptance. It's a very soft number. And it's like, other people might not know this about you, but inside in your heart, you really just want love and peace and gentleness, But then we look at expression, the way you express your expression number, which is your L and the D, which is the 3 and the 4. Again, this is just the Lada name. So this is just one small aspect of who you are. If you looked at the full number, we'd be able to understand really, truly what that means for you. But the 3 and the 4 is the 7. This is really apt, actually, because your expression is 7. The 7's the mystic, the spiritual teacher, the spiritual researcher, curious about all information. It's the ultimate, it's a really good scholar because it loves to know. It fuels itself information, but at the same time, it's quite a private number. Yeah. So
the vowels and the consonants show different things.
Yes.
The vowels show your. Sorry, can you repeat again?
Yeah. The vowels show what your heart desires. Okay. So in amongst the names that you choose, also in the business name, for example, it can show what your heart wants that business to achieve. Now the consonants, they express what how you express yourself using this name.
It sounds more like the consonants is the outer face and the vowels is the soul. And when you say A, O, U, it feels so more soulful and feelings connected than you know, this is like a physical kind of manifestation.
Yeah, the consonants are sort of harder. They seem almost more like grounded, you know.
Tangible,
yeah. And that's the interesting thing. You start to understand like how the sounds, actually Chinese numerology, they look at the sounds of the numbers. That's what's important to them. And so that's how they use numerology. It's a little bit different. But like I said, the Pythagorean system is probably the most common. Now, what both the Indian and the Pythagorean system use is that they both calculate the birth date the same. So
at least with the numbers, you're always set with the numbers and dates. You're always
exactly.
You have control over that. You have control over your name. You can change your destiny somehow with your name, but not with the of April, whatever. That's it.
And you know what, personally, I don't focus as much on the name unless it's a business name or a name change when people want to change how they are, you know, like then we get a bit more serious. But with the name, I feel like people change their name or they use different versions of their name so much, or maybe it's, you know, they have nicknames. It gets so convoluted. But when it comes to your birth date, that's stuck. That stays exactly how it is.
Yeah. It's fated, basically.
Exactly. Well, before we look at that, maybe I can explain what the numbers mean just a little bit. So as I talk about, you know, as we look at a specific birth date, we can understand what those numbers start to mean in those birth dates.
Let's do that.
So, and also I want to bring astrology into this, which is really exciting because each number does have one or two planets assigned to it. And what I like to do is when you look at a significant number in your chart, in your numerology chart, and you look, say for example, the number 2 is associated with the moon, what we know is the moon is really, really significant for you in your astrology chart. So pay extra special attention to it. And also we know that, say you're going through a 2 personal year, because we go in cycles. Everything is reduced to a single digit in numerology. So we go in 9-year cycles. So, and you're in a personal year of 2. Well, we want to know what the 2 is doing, what the moon is doing in that year for you, because it's very significant.
The number 2. Oh, wow. This is what they did in ancient Greek astrology as well.
Yeah. They did it Babylonian as well. Like numerology, even before Pythagoras turned it into a system, they were doing numerology. The ancients were using it, you know, it was part of the code. I don't know much about it, but they were definitely interested in numerology for a long time.
Wow. Okay. Let's get into it. I'm looking forward.
Okay. So what? Well, actually, no. You know what? Let's look at how to calculate your birth date, because some people might want to know.
First,
they might want to know what the number means.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. So basically, with your birth date, you add your day, your month, and your year. It's really that simple. So let's pick a random birth date. Do you want me to do yours, or shall I do mine? Something different?
Yeah, do mine.
Okay, let's do yours. What's your birth date?
April 04/14/81, 1981.
Actually, what you did then was really good, because if you ever do speak to a numerologist, don't start with the month, because especially if you write it like this, because it changes calculations a little bit for other numbers. So when you say my birthday, it's good to go the 14th of April. That's correct, isn't it?
That's like the Western, that's like the European make it. Yeah. We first say
it's better, because for example, already in just your birthday, that is one of the most significant numbers. Super significant, because it's the day you were born is your personality. Chaldean or Indian numerology, they put more emphasis on this number than anything else.
I know.
So the person,
I remember I calculated my Chaldean, just the number, and that was how I created the Astrology name with the numerologist a few years ago, and I was like, what a lame name, Astrology.
Yeah.
But it's
a number one
with your number 5, you know. And I was like, okay. Anyway.
I remember it was a number 1 Astrolabe, wasn't it? Because I remember the first thing I did was look at that business name.
Yeah,
perfect. And I'll explain.
Anyway.
1 is so perfect for you. Okay, so let's look at the personality number. So everyone knows the day they were born, and it's a 14, but we add that up, so it's 1 plus 4 is a 5. So now the reason the personality is so important, and it changes a little bit as you get older. The personality number is really significant when you're a child, and really significant up until around maybe your mid-30s. As you mature, you kind of become more your life path number, which is the addition of every number in your birth date. But for the earlier part of the years and for shaping your personality, this is the number we want to look at. It's still relevant as you get older.
Just the number
it shaped who you were.
The day of birth, date or whatever it's called, day of birth.
Just the day. Yeah, just the date. Yeah, exactly. So the 14th of April in this instance, it's the 14 that we want to know. And so the people who are born on the 5th of April and the people who are born on the 22nd of April, the 23rd of April, they're all have the same 5. But see how it's different? The person born on the 5th is a straight 5. You're the 14-5. So we already know the 1 and the 4 are still significant. And then the 23rd is the 2 and the 3. They play out very differently. And also how they sit next to each other plays out differently. So the 14-5, 5 is all about freedom, freedom to live the life the way that you want to live it. The numbers 1, 5, and 7 are all really independent numbers. And they need their space. They need to, fives like to have, they know how to have fun. They know how to party, go out and be whimsical, but they do get drained. So they would be what the type, we would call them introverted extroverts, you know, kind of thing.
Oh my God, that's so true. Till my 30th year, all I did was party and then spend weeks at home alone and then go out and then spend
I can relate. Yeah. I have a life path 5, so I really relate to this number. But for you, this is definitely, your personality is, because the 5 is very playful and very funny, actually, have a good sense of humor. And they are they can be a jack of all trades. So you might have found out up until the age of 30, you were good at a lot of things, but you kind of didn't know how to commit to just one thing. And, you know, you kind of fluttered around because you're just kind of skilled at everything, but not so skilled that you want to know what to pursue until you find that thing you want to pursue. And you can get a little bit, jack of all trades. You can get a bit lost in that, you know, and your personality can be like that. Not a lot about everything, you know, and look at even your channel and the way that you communicate with other readers and other teachers. You're learning constantly, you know, that's very 5 as well.
And I'll have 4 or 5 channels open, watching one documentary, then skipping to another, then reading about astrology, life after death, about paying your taxes, and it's I can feel what you mean, like everywhere.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's 5. So that's your personality, and obviously we can go into more detail there. But I want to talk about the. There's actually another important number here, which is not the most important number, but adding the 14 and the 4 creates something called your attitude number. So the 14 and the 4, that's 9 again for you. That's interesting. So 9 is significant. 1 and 9 is already really significant for you. So that adds up to a 9. So what we know is the attitude number, which is made up of your birthday and your birth month. So we know your personality, but how do you express your personality? How does it come out? You know, what kind of attitude you have with your personality? So you have the 5, which is very playful and fun, but your attitude is still quite that, again, we go back to that wisdom, that seriousness, that really natural leader. 9 has the energy of all the other numbers. So that's how your attitude comes across. So, you know, to some people you can come across a little bit more serious, you know, then actually you're quite playful, and maybe your friends, once they know your personality better, realize that you're a lot of fun. You know, but when, you know, maybe first introductions, or when you're in a serious situation, you know, the 9 comes out, and the 9 is definitely more about, like, it's quite charitable actually, and humanitarian. That's what the 9 is about. So, you know, the way you express yourself.
Don't stop on me so much when we talk about the numbers. I'm trying to, So basically, personality number is the day only. The attitude is the day plus the month. Okay.
Exactly.
The whole number is what?
All right. And then we have the life path number, which some people think, especially in Pythagorean numerology, they think this is the most important number of all. So we have 5 plus 4, and I might be slow with this, is 9. 10, 19, that makes it 27, 28. Is that correct? I've added this.
I'm writing here that's what is what: personality, attitude, and life path, which is day plus month plus year. But I think it comes up to 1, or no, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I've got. But let me just double check it. I always double check these numbers, because last thing you want to do is get them wrong. So 10, 18, 19, 20, 28. Right. So you have 28.
Okay.
Which is 2 plus 8 is 10. But I look at the 28, you know, before you then break it down. So we know that the life path number you have is a 1 ultimately. So the life path number is the most important number a lot of people feel in it, because it talks about how your life plays out. It's different to your personality number because, as it says, it's your personality. Now, you kind of have a lot of traits that are related to your life path number, and some people are really their life path number. So the way their life unfolds is what the life path number is about. It's the path you follow on this life, you know, and if you follow the 1, which is about leadership for you, then things come easier. Things play out better. Your life feels more fulfilling. You know, you feel like you're on the right path, quite literally. That's why it's a life path number.
Oh my God. Since I became my own business owner, which is 1, isn't it? This is my confidence, everything. I was just so not right before that. But so basically, if your life path number is 1, but your personality number, say, is 2, you might approach leadership in different ways, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's how you like, say, someone with a personality number 9, they'll approach leadership in a very gentle, I guess, humanitarian way. Or something like that. So that's a good way how you can combine them. I'm trying to understand logically. Okay.
Exactly. And this is why getting a reading is important, because sometimes when you look at, if you Google it or if you look it up and you do your calculations and you have your numbers, but understanding how they combine is actually kind of complex. And there's more to it.
Sorry.
And even with just, no, you're right. Even with just looking at the number 2 and 8, right? So we know that's a 1, and I said they're individual numbers, but also the shape and the way they relate to each other is different. So, for example, in numerology, the circle shapes represent love and emotion. The horizontal shapes represent attachments, and the direct lines, so with like a 1, the vertical lines, that's a direct connection from like Earth to God, for example. And then lines that cross over, like you have with a 4, they represent challenges. So that's another little trick you learn. So what is happening here with the 2 and 8, this is actually quite good because, let's see if I can do this, terrible arrow, but the 2, the emotional energy of the 2, the really sensitive, soft nature of the 2 is being expressed outwards. It's going out away from you. So your emotions don't get too tangled up with your life path number. This is really good. If someone had an 82, which would be, I don't know if you can have an 82, depending on the year, that would mean that the 2, this is getting a bit complex, by the way, but the 2 then starts to have a conversation with the 8. It's really sensitive about the 8. It's emotional about the 8. It's having a heart-to-heart connection with the 8, which can get a bit heavy.
Uh-huh.
So when you have a personal reading, a good numerologist will look at how everything relates to each
Uh-huh.
other. So you'll say an 82 and a 28 is actually a different one.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting.
I can see how, yeah. Well, so even the shapes of the letters and the.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Life path is the most important. We can't change
Yes.
it, but the
Yes.
personality will show you how best to express that life path. And what's most
Yes.
natural in expressing it, the attitude as well, I guess, is.
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk now, when everyone calculated their numbers, let's talk about the numbers one by one.
Okay. So let's start at the beginning at the number 1. And beginning is the absolutely accurate word. It's basically people with one life path or even one personality, it all relates. Basically, it's all about new people who they're good at starting things. They're good at starting businesses, ideas. They're very innovative. They're really original because, like I explained, it's a direct connection. So it's they have their feet on the ground, but they're connected to the divine. So it's like they have direct inspiration from the divine. It's not trapped amongst other shapes. It's just direct, intuitive connection. They're very, very innovative. They're self-starters. So where the 9 is about endings, the 1 is all about the beginning. So they know how to start a project like there's no tomorrow. They're very determined because it's such a strong, even the shape of it, it's such a strong shape. It stands on its own. It's very independent. Even in Roman numerals, if you look at the 2, it's got two of the number 1 next to each other. So it's not alone, but the 1 is alone.
Uh-huh.
The 1 life path people they don't feel lonely, but they enjoy being alone. Like I said, the 1, 5, and 7s are the independent numbers.
Oh yeah.
But for the ones, yeah. So the ones really, they know how to enjoy their aloneness. They really know how to appreciate it. And sometimes to the point where they get aggravated if they have to share their company because they've got so many ideas and they've got things they want to do, and they especially when they're on a mission with a project or an idea, they really just want to block everything else out and get on with it,
And you said that a person grows more into their life path with age.
Yeah.
First, the personality number, which is the day, shows much more.
Yes.
You can be like very soft, maybe a soft 2 or something when younger, and if your life path number is 1, you become more and more disfocused and one-track mind kind of.
Yeah, exactly. You become so much more, because I guess, after the age of 30 anyway, if you look at the Saturn return in numerology, you get a wake-up call about what am I doing? Where's my life going? What kind of a life do I want to unfold? That's your life path. Yeah. So you already automatically start questioning, where am I going in my life? That is also why you start becoming more your life path, because you start to tune into that better. And your personality, you sort of stop blaming your parents for things. You stop blaming your circumstance. You kind of get a bit more realistic about things. So the way your personality was shaped in your upbringing, it still is very, very relevant, but it stops being so controlling. It stops to control how your life unfolds, It doesn't have such an impact.
Yeah, well,
so yeah.
So much clarity. I'm getting it now, because I used to go on those websites and calculate my numbers, and you get like 10 numbers, and
I know. What does it mean?
But what does it mean? And to be honest, my personality was exactly like a 5 till 30, and it's still my personality. I'm still like jack of all.
And maybe. Yeah, and probably your more close friends will see that in you, or actually, we'll talk more about the number 5 as we get to it.
So number 1,
with the number 1,
and I've heard something as well about number 1, that these people have to learn to be independent in this lifetime. So it's initially they might have a lot of dependencies even to overcome. And I've heard even sometimes, but being dependent, and they have to. And I remember when I had a numerology reading once, and I was like, oh, I want my partner. When is he gonna create enough money for us? And he said, no, you're number 1. You should be the one that creates your own stuff. And the universe is not gonna allow you to become dependent on someone. You're supposed to be independent. And I was like, shit, all my girlfriends get rich boyfriends. Why can't I? And he was like,
what? That is so accurate for Life Path 1, especially for Life Path 1 females, because a lot of them tend to, if they're not expressing their originality and they're, they think, oh, I'll try to support someone else who's like my partner who's doing it, and push them to do it and be something. But it doesn't last. They can't help themselves. They're actually too bossy to allow themselves not to pursue something greater, but it is actually Life Path 1 women really do struggle with that, and they struggle with earning their own money for some reason. And they eventually do once they get over the fact that they can, and they can do it they tend to do it from really unconventional jobs though, and really innovative jobs. So obviously looking at your kind of work, it's not normal. It's not what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, very something.
This is how it works.
About newness. It feels like new.
Yeah.
And
very, very original.
Well, what planet does it correspond astrologically? What does it correspond?
The sun. It's the sun. So it's very a prideful number as well as a result, like they're really proud of the work they produce once they start producing their work. And they're very, very, very loyal to their friends and their partners. They're very loyal to the people around them. So that's where the sun starts to come in.
So would you, when you find your life number, it's a good idea to check it in your horoscope and see how your sun, how your sun is placed in your horoscope. Maybe you can express this leadership through the house of the sun. Like my sun is in the 3rd house through teaching and learning and media. So this leadership comes, this start innovative energy kind of, and creating communities. So, okay, I'm starting to see it now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really simplistically, I would say if your life path is 1, look at where the sun is in your chart to find what you're supposed to do in this life.
Wow.
That's a very simple way to put it. Like you said, if it's in the 10th house, you're supposed to dedicate yourself definitely to employment, to finding a job that is really, meant for you. Some people with a life path 1 are still meant to be mothers, but they're pioneering mothers. They're the type of mothers, they advocate for very unconventional things, for example.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe looking at the sign of the sun, because mine is Aries. It's double number 1.
Yeah, and this is very good if you're struggling to find information in your chart. Like, oh, okay, I get my chart, but what am I really supposed to do in my life?
Yeah.
Now we know where the emphasis is. Really, do your research there. Study that information. Study the sun. Understand it better. Even if you think you know it, you don't really know it. You can learn more.
Okay, so life pathers number 1. Check out your sun, guys. That's so important. To show you your destiny, even your career, and where you're supposed to go.
Actually, a good example of a 1 life path is Tom Cruise. So I use him as an example is because he's really unconventional, but he's been so successful, and that is the 2 words that I really use to describe a life path 1: unconventional, but very successful and very determined and direct. See how his even the way he uses his words, and the controversy over his faith, but he doesn't care. He's like, I don't care what other people think, and that's very life path 1. They don't really, when they do care, they're falling off the wagon, basically, when they get really sensitive.
And I used to be, and the less I am, the happier I feel.
Yeah, and this is what can happen is if you don't relate to your life path number, something's off. It could be medication, it could be drug use, it could be the fact that you're so afraid of fulfilling your path.
So basically, if you're not doing what your life path is saying, you are blocking yourself. You're not on the right path. That's Oh wow.
Some people go, I'm so not my life path number, but it's not really your personality. I mean, it shows your strengths, but it's more about what you should be focusing on.
Wonderful. Number 2, the moon.
Number 2. Yes, so we know that one's the moon, and basically number 2 is very passive, and a lot of numerologists will sort of say, oh, you're supposed to be behind the scenes, you're very gentle, you're soft, you're a peacemaker, you're very good at creating harmony if there's conflict. Now, this is really true about twos, but there's so much more to twos than that. And sometimes I think that a lot of people who read up about their life path may be a bit disappointed if they get to the two. No way, twos are powerful because you control things from angles that other people don't see. You're very, very intuitive, very psychic number.
That's like the moon, exactly. The most intuitive.
Exactly. It's yes, it's soft in its words, and the way you communicate can be very gentle, but you can shape an environment like there's no tomorrow. Like just like the moon shapes the tides, and it has such an impact on our lives. The two people, life path two, you know, they are so overwhelmed with emotion. That is why they're gentle, because they know what they can create. They're so powerful. So they're really good at understanding how to change and manipulate emotion in other people, because of their gentleness. So
well,
with the
great
two,
psychologists, probably they can gently lead a person into in a positive way, manipulating them into something. An
example of a powerful two is Tony Robbins.
I love Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I do too.
You can look at
he's a
guy. You just want to take him home and listen to him all day.
I know. You just want, like, tell me everything, Tony Robbins. You know everything. How do you understand?
I think he's psychic or something sometimes. Like he does it in a logical way, but how can someone within 2-3 minutes tap into someone else's energy and know what they're about and what their biggest issue is by hearing just one sentence from what they say? And that's very moon. The moon feels. It doesn't hear logical factors. It feels. Okay, I'm starting to understand the number two now. Wow.
Tony Robbins is a good example because he's an extra special two. Well, it's not. No one's more special than anyone else. But he's an 11 two, and that's a master number. So whilst we reduce everything to a single digit, the numbers 11, 22, and 33 are sort of special. We sort of really pay attention to them. So the 11 has the double one energy. So that's what makes him such a great leader as well. Some twos might find that they struggle with their leadership. So, you know, but someone with the one, if they have a lot of ones in their chart, that really helps them with that because they tend to be more passive, the two. But Tony Robbins pushes beyond that, you know.
1 and 1 basically, and the 1 and 1 is like two leaders that get to your 11 are very, I know another 11 person. She's like an X-ray.
She's psychic,
and she's a leader, so she has the leadership. But we'll probably get to the 11 as well again later. But they have the soft side as well. You can approach them with the soft side, and they'll connect to feelings as well. It's not just about like the number one life path.
The two, and in poetry, very good artists, poets, musicians, actually singers. There's almost a connection to the throat chakra there, but like they're very good at gently expressing very deep, interesting thoughts and patterns. Good writers as well, actually.
Wow. Okay. Two. Yeah. In astrology, if you have the moon close to an angle, this makes the best writers and poets and people that touch your soul in some way. This is statistical. Okay. So if you're number two, guys, check your moon. Which house is it? Maybe this is the career you're meant to have. What sign is it in? You know? You might be a number two moon. You might be number two and your moon might be in the 10th house. So you're supposed to do career that is more that you're connecting emotionally with others. Or your moon is in the 2nd house and you're supposed to basically through this life path create financial stability through
or even help other people who are struggling to with their finances. You could be a really great financial aid because you connect with them emotionally.
They're helpers.
They're really good healers.
Number two, healers, helpers, nurture. Like the moon is a mother, is a nurturer to take care of you. Okay. Very interesting. Very, very good insights. Okay.
So let's get to number 3.
Yes, number 3.
So after the sun and moon, 1 and 2 are very obvious, but after 3, the connection to the planets gets a bit more convoluted. Some people say this, some people say that. So I'm going to give you basically the strongest connections. So with number 3, the ancient Indian sort of connections is Jupiter. And the number 3 is all about expression, artistic expression, speaking, the voice, being heard, writing, listening, being funny, very optimistic, life of the party, inspiring, fearless, very much about expression. A lot of actors and musicians have this in their chart, actually. So you can understand that this desire to express yourself and to share your joy with other people. It's very, very important for a life path 3. And that's where the Jupiter is really relevant here, because it's about expansion. You know, they really want to expand. You know, if they go into a party, they want to make it the biggest party ever. They light up the room. They really bring the fun.
Yeah. Well, the system I've studied, Vedic astrology, number 3 was Mars.
Yeah, Mars as well, yeah. So Mars is also connected to the number 3. So it's Jupiter and Mars are linked to it. So to be honest, I find them both as relevant as each other. So I wouldn't know which one is more the other. Mars is probably the side of the 3 that's fiery, because the 3 can get really passionate. 3 has potential, very passionate. And because there's so much like energy, can be ADHD energy sometimes. So really good for dancers and for gym junkies and for martial artists, and for that's where, you know, the Mars energy comes in, because there's that intense energy, that sort of like combative almost energy.
Yeah. Okay, so they should check the Jupiter and the Mars in their horoscope by house.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay.
A downside, a good example of a life path 3 is Christina Aguilera. And I chose her because she's a 30 life path, so she's a really true 3 life path. And that's an example. So anytime you have a 0, so 30, her life path is 30, the 0 next to any number, so maybe you're born on the 10th or something, or your life path adds up to a 20, the 0 amplifies the number it's next to. So pay attention to that as well.
Okay, the 0 is like a double influence, like stronger influence of that number. Okay.
Yeah.
So Christina is like a really epitome of number 3, the dancing, the energy,
the voice. Yeah, absolutely. She's very much about her way of communicating, and her song lyrics, you know, they mean a lot to her and how she expresses herself through music. And, you know, a lot of her songs have been very personal things for her that have happened in her life. You know, a lot of other artists have been a little bit more perhaps virtuosic about it. You know, maybe it's her voice that's the skill, not necessarily her songs, if you understand what I mean. So that can be a problem for 3s, because they can tend to not learn a little bit like 5s actually, but they can tend not to learn a craft very well, because they're so charming and they get away with things very easily. So they tend to be more the musician than the guitar player, for example.
Yes. Okay.
Very much the actor.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4, let's get to the next one. So there are 3 planets that we associate with the number 4. Again, depending on which kind of where you've learnt this, or which teacher has taught you this in numerology, but the planets that are associated are Mercury, Uranus,
I know,
and Rahu.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. And I really connect with
that's I'm just saying number 4, Mercury.
Oh, nice.
Uranus. Rahu is the north node, guys.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe check those 3 planets in your horoscope if you're number 4.
Yeah, see what's happening there, because the 4 is quite a serious number in some ways, and a lot of 4 people can be perceived as they're very hardworking. Like in a work environment, they're the people where people go, oh, just give it to them, they'll get the job done. 4s are really stable people, and they're they are very practical and rational. You know, they might not be the people to believe in numerology, actually. They might not be the people to be interested in esoteric subjects. They're very scientific, you know.
Like Mercury wants to take its facts, you know. Mercury wants,
yes,
like, it doesn't believe until it's like factual and rational, basically.
Yes, yes. Where the Uranus comes into play is the really strong connection to technical ability, really strong connection to computers and skills, small fine details.
That's Mercury. Mercury is great at.
It's Mercury as well, yeah.
So guys, check out your Mercury. I think like Mercury will be the most important.
You feel the Mercury most, yeah.
That's how I learned it as well, because it's
Yeah.
But
yeah, I learned that
nowadays modern astrology, Uranus is technology. But in ancient astrology, Mercury was all skills, ability to, and Rahu is the ability to create machines and contraptions and computers, and maybe that's why you're.
Yeah, I felt more Rahu, because it says Rahu Uranus, but I felt more Rahu in that relationship with the 4 as well. Also because 4 it's very karmic, and I think even in Chinese astrology, it can be perceived as a bit heavy and negative. It's not. 4 is super talented. Like, these are the people. The 3 will be the singer. The 4 will be the virtuosic guitar player.
Oh, wow.
They are so talented. They can be really talented. If they're off their path, they're not following any particular, you know, they're not learning skills if they're off their path. But if they're really in tune with what they're supposed to do, they're like model makers, and if they're a painter, they're really fine detailed painter. They're very good at the fine detailed work of things, like building computers, putting computers together, for example, or
specialists,
researchers. Yeah.
Specialists, I guess that's very Mercury. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah. So they're very talented in that sense, you know, and they can achieve so much in this life because they're such hardworking individuals. Good example, Bill Gates. So Microsoft co-founder. Yeah, he's a really good example, I think, you know, and he's even though he's kind of like, he could have been so much more in the spotlight if he really wanted to, and he's been very successful, but 4s actually they're so interested in the working hard, you know. They're not about the glamming up too much. They're about they know a lot of information, and that can come across sometimes socially awkward, you know, but they can be charming in their like quirky bits of information as well.
Wonderful.
So that's number 4. And just remember, guys, like we're just really looking at the key factors of the life path numbers. There's so much more to each number, but I could talk forever about it. So let's just do the basics for now. Number 5. So number 5 is associated with Jupiter, but also Mercury. And this, you'll probably know what more to do with Jupiter. But the 5s are very much about expansion as well, very adventurous. They like to have fun. They're really free thinking. They're very chameleonic. Like, remember I mentioned the jack of all trades with the 5 before? That's very 5. So, oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry. Good. Cool. Yeah, so basically it's very adaptable, very changeable. The life path 5 people can be escapists because they like change so much.
Oh, wow. So, yeah.
They're the people that are likely to need adventure in their lives, and they might push it away in their early years. They might really cling to their home and cling to their home environment and their close friends, the people they've known forever. That might be a way it expresses themselves. But really, and then after 30, they're like addicted to traveling and they can't get enough of it. And they love trying different things and going to different places and going to different parties and constantly chopping and changing. So the problem that can happen with life path 5s is that they never really pick one thing and stick with it, and they end up being good at many, 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 many different things. I relate to it. I'm a life path 5. I have a degree, but I have so many interests. I'm in a band. I obviously do my readings. I had a professional job. I've had so many other little mini jobs. It's very difficult for a life path 5 to focus, you know. So that's their challenge in this life, is to just, you can still have all your other interests, but find something to keep consistent with all throughout your life and slowly build on that.
It's so much more fun.
Yeah. Five's a lot of fun, very witty as well. And there's a lot of, again, a lot of actors are life path fives. Also, a lot of people who have had challenges in their life that they've had to overcome, because the fives are really, really balanced. If you look at where it is on, you know, I don't have it written down, but number 5 is at the middle of 1 to 9. It's at the very, very middle. So basically, it has the balance where it's a good way along its path, and it's not too much of one side of the spectrum or the other. It's a very balanced number. So they tend to be really understanding and very compassionate, and very, the way it connects with the Jupiter is obviously the fact that they want to do everything and they're very grandiose. But where it connects with the Mercury is they're very intelligent, actually, and they're very, their mind goes a million miles an hour, you know, so they can, though, in a negative sense, be prone to, again, addictions, because they want to try everything and they're curious about everything. So they have to be careful of that kind of, you know, negative side to it.
Yeah. Wow, very interesting. I'm taking notes here. So
a good example actually is Angelina Jolie. And I wanted to give her an example because she's had so many different roles in movies, and actually being an actor is really great career choice for a life path 5, because it means that they can be a different person every single movie or TV episode or whatever. It's a very changeable, they're very chameleonic. And also with Angelina Jolie, you know, like when she was younger, she was this, you know, sort of crazy, sort of a little bit, you know, rough around the edges young girl, and she completely transformed, you know, like a chameleon, into a sort of more glamorous woman. Not a lot of people can achieve that. And also with her traveling, you know, obviously there's been changes in her life with Brad Pitt in the past year, but you know, they love to travel a lot together and do a lot of work outside of their homeland.
And indeed, she has so many different careers. She's a TV producer, she's a movie producer, an actress, an action person, and
philanthropist, humanitarian. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So such people, maybe they should, they learn to have a focus, but they should not like focus just on one thing, because they're gonna lose their true spark if they do that. Like they should,
and not beat themselves up.
Careers at the same time.
Exactly. And expect that, you know, if say you've done a degree and in your 20s and you hit your 30s and you're just not happy with where your path, you know, what you're doing anymore, but you're worried about, oh, well, this is comfortable, and you know what, if you're a life path 5, you're probably going to change anyway. Don't be afraid, you know, obviously do it in practical ways, you know, don't just jump into the unknown, but you're supposed to know a lot of and try a lot of things, exactly like you said. Don't be afraid of that side of yourself.
Wow, that must be such a peace of mind for some people, that the number 5, and maybe you're thinking, no, I'm scattered. Well, you're supposed to have all those talents and skills, you know. And that's wonderful. Number 6. So that's I know number 5 was Jupiter, but Bea says also Mercury. I can hear the Mercury energy here for certain. And because 5 is the 5th day also of the week, which is ruled by Jupiter, Thursday.
Right.
So I would also check Jupiter as well. Mercury.
I think so.
Mental planets. Mercury is your everyday skills. Jupiter is your higher interests, bigger interests, and Jupiter is, you know, it wants to know everything, to embrace all the knowledge as well. So I would check the of your Jupiter if you're number 5, and Mercury as well. Okay, so number 6.
Number 6. This one's easy. Everyone in the numerology world believes the same thing. It's Venus.
Venus.
And
the 6th day of the week is Friday, guys. Starting from Saturday, from Sunday is the first day. The 6th day is Friday, which is ruled by Venus. So we see the corresponding Venus. My partner is number 6. I can't wait to hear.
Okay, so the 6, they are natural teachers, natural nurturing. They're very sensitive. There's so much to a 6. They're very sensory. So whether it's their sense of smell, sense of hearings, like even very particular about the music they listen to, very particular about what their eye sees, the way they decorate, very, you know, architecture, interior design, you know, jewelry design, very, very, you know, when you talk about Venusian skills, it's very much connected to that
and
kind of stuff.
Tactile. They'll touch you, they'll like
very
you, to be touched, to be kissed, to be
exactly. Yeah, they're very loving. And if you look at the number 6, some people call it the pregnant woman on its side, standing on its side.
It's true. It's like a pregnant woman.
Yeah. So the 6 is very much about love and nurturing, whether they nurture a creative project. You know, my partner's a 6 as well, but he nurtures his creative projects. There are his babies. Or obviously mothering. You know, you're very you naturally want to help other people and give to sometimes to your detriment, you know, where you can get very upset that other people don't give as much love to you as you give to them. Even if they haven't asked for it, you can't help yourself. You're just such a like 6 people can be so you know, caring, and they think outside of the box to help people.
Maybe
and
want to please,
you know,
others as well. Venus wants to please.
Oh yeah,
liked as well.
Yes. They definitely they're natural healers and teachers as well. But when I say healer, I'm more in, I guess I mean more in the you know, like a nurse, for example, or somebody who works in your environment to help you create a nicer environment for you. They're really good with that. And a lot of models actually also have 6 in their 6 life paths. And if you look at the numbers that make up 6 are FOX. So I always remember the 6.
I don't understand. What is that?
In you know how we assigned it at the beginning to letters? So the letters that make up, that are associated with the number 6 in the chart
Fox.
are F and O and X. And so I always think of 6 as foxy lady. That's how it reminds me. Because
they are charming as well, those 6ers.
Very charming, good looking. They know how to they know how to like put things together and create and craft, and you know, whether that's even as musicians. 3, 6 and 9 are the creative numbers. So
yeah,
they're all about that creative expression. The 3 more through speaking, but the 6 more through that the Venusian arts, you know, and craft and creating and sensory things, basically.
Yeah, beauty, art, gardening, anything, decoration as well. That is pleasing to the eye and to the taste.
Yes.
I suppose. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe they can be very good cooks as well, because Venus rules the senses.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah, the senses, the smells. Oh yeah, big time. A lot of life path 6s have such a good sense of smell. Very common. They have to be careful of being a bit emotionally paranoid, because they're so sensitive, and they're so caring about other people's. They can get a little bit like, you know, other people aren't giving as much to me as I am to them. Maybe they don't love me. You know, they can get down that spiral. So they have to be careful of not thinking too negatively about the way, and not give too much when it's not necessarily necessary, basically.
Yeah. And what about relationship? They seem maybe relationships are super important for them with this Venus.
Oh yeah, family and community and friendships, all of the relationships are very important for them. Like they're the mother, so they can be a glue in an environment, you know, and they really value, they can, you know, value their history and their family and where they came from, and yeah.
So I shouldn't push my partner into cutthroat aggressive business. This can kill his soul.
Well, no. Well, actually, maybe. My partner's the same. They're really good.
I'll do that with my number 1.
Yeah, they can be good teachers though. So teacher, any kind of, if the business is cutthroat but they're giving information, that's still good for them.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're in control, they still like their control, like the mum. You know how the mum's like, oh, they love everyone, but they run the household. So they still have that kind of leadership skill too.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. So that's.
Oh, an example of a number 6 is Steve Irwin. And I picked him because I thought his relationship with animals, yes, that's the thing I was going to say. They're so emotionally in tune, and sort of, they're so kind and sweet.
Irwin was the guy that died from the stingray.
Yes. So he was the
was such a likable
Australian
guy. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he was quite a big personality and very like loving, and you know, that was his shtick, I guess. But he was known for his wildlife research and his the things that he did for animals, and yeah, so and
that's
educating people.
When I asked my partner when I met him, and I said, "What do you love doing?" and he said, "I love animals," and like nurturing,
yeah.
loving. I see. Yeah. Okay. Now it makes sense. Lots of sense. These numbers really work. My God.
They're great. You can use them for everything. So number 7. So most people know number 7 is associated with Saturn.
Yes.
But it can also have a really strong link to Neptune and Ketu.
Okay. Saturn, Neptune. Sounds very lonely here.
7, you know, even if you look at the number, it's such a strong number, like the 1. You know, it's got the strong sharp angle. The 4 also has the strong sharp angles, and the 1, they can lack the softness that the other numbers lack, because they're very actually the 7 is very mysterious, magical, deep thinking, esoteric. It's very focused. It's it has such an ability to do really good research and understand things on a very deep level. I always think of it as the mystic when I think of a 7.
Yeah, I guess the Neptune energy would be the mystical, and Saturn will be the serious energy.
Yes. You can't. They're not easily bendable. This is why I showed you the shape. You know, like they don't. The other numbers, some of the other numbers can bend easily to other people because they're receptive to other people. The 7s, they are intuitive though, but they're intuitive because they're connecting to the divine. But they're very, they can be harsh basically, because they're so strong, you know, and they really want justice. It's a very justice-oriented number, and they hate injustice, and they. Like I said, the 1, 5, and 7s are the independent numbers, so you can't really tell them what to do. They know how to, they want to lead their lives their own way. You can't control them. So if you got anyone who's in a relationship with a 7 and you're trying to control them, bad move. They will probably run away. There can be escape artists like the 5.
And like the Saturn is not easily molded. Saturn.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
For years in a place that was the number that it was number 7, and all I did was research and study and work very hard, and I was alone. I had a partner, but I was for 12 hours, no, for 16 hours alone at home without meeting much people, and I kind of like my privacy and space in this number 7 house that I lived in, because I'm not number 7, so I can't connect, but it's I guess their overall life will be like that, like a bit like the hermit sometimes. And
actually, yes, very much a strong association with the hermit card. But they're very, they're really great researchers. Like, so they blend science and spirituality very well. They have a very good understanding of it. So you'll find that they're the type of people that will work with, you know, any kind of scientific field, or but they'll do it in a spiritual way, you know, but they have the knowledge to back it up, you know. They really want that factual knowledge to back up what they do.
Practical approach. Very. Saturn is practical. It's not just flying in the skies with okay.
Practical and intelligent.
Practical and intelligent. And skeptical. Someone mentioned skeptical here.
Yes. Skeptical, is definitely. I would suggest though for a 7, it's actually very important for them to find a faith, whatever that means to them, whether that be spiritual or religious or whatever. I find that a lot of the 7s that don't have a faith really feel that discontent within themselves, and they rely too heavily on the scientific, and that can throw them off balance a little bit. They need the both, basically. They need the science and they need the faith.
And what careers would be good for a number 7?
Actually, look, 7s, researchers, so anything to do with the study fields, writers, anything to do where they're digging up deep information, like it very scorpionic, you know, so it could be like working in a prison, or working in a asylum even, you know, where they really understand things. They can combine those two aspects of intuition and science, but they understand things on a very deep level. They know how to dig deep. Psychologists, actually, they make really good psychologists as well, because they know how to get that information out, and they have the research to back it up. So those kind of, or obviously scholarly, because they're really good students. They study very, very well, and they really depend on information. So they make really good research students, and research, you know, they could be the type who are interested in doing a doctorate or something like that. Not necessarily, depending on your other numbers. Like if you have a 5 in there, if you have a 5 personality, you probably won't do a doctorate, because you'll be too scattered to do something like that. But yeah.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
So I picked a bit of a controversial person to represent a life path 7, because it's a bit weird, but Mel Gibson I picked to represent a life path 7. Yeah, I mean, I think with the his faith became so strong for him later in his life, you know, and it was controversial, and he's been through his ups and downs, and you can't really tell. He's not the type of person, if you do research about him, that you could really tell him what to do. He was always going to do things his own way, you know, and can be controlling, but because he's got a vision for himself. Yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting. And he has a very strong belief system as well.
Exactly.
He's very much into as well, and into the matters.
So he's not a conventional, like, religious person, basically. You know, he's not conventional in his faith, which I think is very a life path 7.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 8.
Oh, number 8.
So the most well-known sign associated with number 8 is Uranus, but Saturn is also connected here, and they're both really relevant. So 8th is all about wealth, business, power, prestige, presentation, being charming. Very powerful number. People on an 8 life path will find that they really want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They want to create something bigger than themselves. They're really motivated, very own business as well, to run their own business or be in charge of a business. Very managerial personalities. Okay. Now they're not like the number
by nature, acquisitive, like want to have things, to possess things, or it's not so much?
Oh, materialistic in that sense. Yes.
Because I remember my people was associated number 8 with Rahu, because Rahu is very materialistic and grasping in a sense.
Yes.
So that was he did Vedic Indian astrology, and he assigned 8 to Rahu according to an ancient system. So idea to keep it as well. But I can see Rahu has very similar energy to Uranus as well. So
I can see that too. Actually, you're right. I can see that, and also we, you know, what I said Rahu was associated with was 4, but 2, 4, and 8 speak the same language of consumerism and being quite business. They have a business sense. All of those numbers. So there's a relationship there for sure. But yeah, so basically I found that life path 8 men tend to be pretty clear cut. They are very much, they want to run the business, to be a part of a big business. They want to be powerful. They want to be perceived as powerful. They want to earn money. They value money. They know how to appreciate money and use it wisely. Even if they don't have a lot of money, they will look like they have a lot of money. They will dress really well. They will present themselves very classy.
Yeah, this is my partner. Absolutely, you're describing him one-to-one.
Yeah. So the men eights really stand out, you know, and even if like they're not traditionally good looking, you just can't help but be attracted to them because they're very, very charming, very powerful. And, you know, like for women who can be very attracted to power, they exude that confidence, you know, like as soon as they walk into a room, they sort of dominate the energy of the room because even without saying anything, but they're very good communicators. They kind of can be salesmen, you know, they have that bit of the salesman energy.
You know, it's funny. I had a friend who changed her name to correspond to the number 8 without knowing. And from the moment people started calling her like that, she started making so much money, and she became so much power over people. Sometimes, like, it's in a subtle way, and then she went back to the normal name because she said, like, oh, it's a bit overwhelming, this energy, but she generated wealth. Throughout the 10 years she was with her name changed to number 8. Anyway, just wanted
That's a really good point, because people often try to change their name or their business to a number 8, assuming it's going to create money. But actually, it can go the other way. You can just become like too overwhelmed with the power, like you said. It's a dangerous number to select. You have to be very careful when changing your name to something
health
like an
issues.
8.
For her, like, a lot of health issues came up, and a lot of power struggles started happening to people, and a lot of she used to live in such a peaceful life. I think she used to be something. Her life path is always the same, but the name brought much more drama and so anyway, but it brought the wealth, to be honest.
Oh yeah, and especially I find that life path 8 men really, really exemplify this. Life path 8 women are a little bit more confusing. They can swing either way. If they tend to, you know, a little bit like the one actually, where if you fall into the trap of relying on your partner because you're afraid of your own power, you're almost overwhelmed by your own power. A lot of life path 8 women hide away from it. They shy away from it. They don't know how to create their own business. They don't know how to make their own money. Similar to the one here, if you see that connection. But they really struggle to express their own power, because in this, you know, like, women have come so far in terms of it being an equal world, but in many situations, especially in professional businesses, it can still be a man's world. And so women can struggle to find their own power, because it's not just a powerful person, it's a very powerful woman. You know, it can be too combative energy for some people to handle. So what ends up happening is women will fall into being very passive, and they don't know how to express their power, so they just hold it inside, or they can fall into, you know, again, addictions or things that soften the blow, to help hide it away. Because I find that a lot of life path 8 women do not express their 8 life path. A lot of them go, I don't connect to this whatsoever, or I haven't been able to find myself in this.
Because it's probably very difficult manifesting that 8 energy, and very competitive world here. Yes.
The way they can manifest it for a woman is if they leaders in a like not-for-profit organization, or if they do it in a charitable way where they kind of soften the edge a little bit. They work well in, like, it's good for them to do that business that's not just about making money, you know. And then the money comes anyway. So
great advice. Wow.
Oh, and an example for that was Giorgio Armani. He's a life path 8, which he couldn't be a better life path 8. Like, he created the iconic Armani men's suit, which is the epitome of a powerful man, you know.
Oh yeah, great example.
All right, let's go to number 9.
It's a kind of a status symbol. I guess people with number life path 8 can be very much into status as well.
Very, very much into status, and very much about rising up the ladder of the social status quo, you know, like getting to the top and being recognized as
that's the Rahu is about power and recognition. It's like the South Node and acquisition.
Now you're teaching me things. Thank you. I will look at that connection with 8 and Rahu.
Because, my teacher Ernst Wilhelm, he gets this information straight from Sanskrit texts that he translates. So I think here there was just a swap between the number 3 and 4 and 5. 3 was Mars according to him, and 5 was Jupiter. But they probably have similar energy. Anyway.
Yeah.
Number 9.
Okay, so number 9, we have what you would probably know as is Neptune.
Okay.
That's the connection, but also Mars. I find the connection is probably stronger with Neptune, because the 9 is all about.
I know it is Ketu. According to.
You know it is Ketu. Yes,
and
good.
Ketu is also very similar to Neptune. Basically, it's extremely similar.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So 9 is about it's about endings. You know, it's about being good at completing things. So, and remember how I said it has all the other numbers in it because it's the last number. It's considered a very sacred number. So basically, these people, a life purpose or a thing for them to achieve is to really see things through to completion. You know, it might take them their whole lifetime, whether that is coming out from a poor family and building an empire for themselves. You know, they're really good at seeing things through to completion, sometimes to their detriment, because it means that they get really hung up on finishing something, even if it doesn't need to be finished, you know, like let it go. You don't need to let it go. Life path 9 is very much associated with the past as well, and letting go of the past. Any connection.
Will they have problem letting go of the past, or will they be great at letting go of the past?
Yes.
What exactly?
They can be either or, depending how in tune they are with their number. So, but yes, definitely they can have trouble with letting go of the past and letting go of their family history if they need to. You know, like life might force them into a situation where they have to move away from their home country, so that they have to let go of their past and create something new for themselves, because they're really here.
Neptune energy now. Okay, Neptune is about also moving away, living far away.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so they're all about creating something quite big, because it's supposed to encompass the energy of all the other numbers. You know, so they're very. It's hard to sort of describe the personality. Again, life path isn't so much the personality, but it's hard to describe the characteristic of a life path 9, because they're a little bit of everything. And it can be complex to understand that you're a life path 9, but ultimately they're all about completion and philosophy and being humanitarian, because they're about giving back to the earth. They've acquired all this knowledge along this path of the other numbers. So it's about giving back in some sort of like big, grand way, and creating freedom for other people. And, philosophy, you know, they have all this information, and they're very sophisticated. Actually, they can come across as very glamorous and sophisticated and regal. Even if they're like wearing track pants, for some reason they'll still look better than most people in track pants, you know, like they just can't help themselves. They're very they can be classic looking and classically very traditional in their beliefs and in their thinking.
Yeah. Traditional.
So they're very exciting. Yeah, a little bit traditional. Like they can be, well, I mean, my mum's a life path 9, and she's not traditional in everything she's achieved, but she has sort of traditional principles in amongst that. It's
like more
it's
moral.
Confusing to be a life path 9. Pardon?
Moral to me, like the.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
They're also very charitable, and they might end up in situations where they work for like a social worker. I always associate number 9 as with social workers. You know, they're really great at being able to handle heavy things and heavy realities. A little bit 7 is the same as well. 7s can handle heaviness as well. But the 9 handles it, but also knows how to be soft and give back in the right ways. A really good example of a life path 9 is Mahatma Gandhi.
Beautiful example.
Yeah. So I think that's the right kind of example. Very beautiful, spiritual. It's just an intense, you know, energy of independence, freedom. You know, those are the words that I think of when I think of a life path 9. And sophistication and influence. They are influential, whether they like to be or not. They can't help themselves. Like they're the leaders that they're not trying to create a following, but they turn around and all of a sudden all of these people are following them, and they're like listening to them. Oh, what did you say? And we want to,
The guru.
like the guru. Yeah, actually, very much so. The guru. They're very knowledgeable.
That's very Neptune. So, that's very like
yeah.
They get under your skin even subconsciously, and
yes,
they bring some higher vibration of some sort that people want to listen to.
Yes. Yeah. So and that is the numbers 1 through 9.
11, the 20. Oh, okay, so maybe that's what you're going to.
Yes. No, good question. Perfect question. So the only numbers that we think of separate to the single digit numbers is number 11, 22, and 33. And that's because they're considered like intense versions of those numbers.
Say 23 or 33?
Yes.
You said
so
20.
We have, yes, 22, 33, yeah. So the 30. Double digits.
30?
Yeah. So basically.
Okay, so this one. Okay. 33.
Yeah.
So this comes to 2, this comes to 4, this comes to 6, but on a higher vibration type of thing.
Exactly. Well said. Okay. Basically, if you have the sensitivity of the 2, they're called master numbers, actually. So, and it's because these people are masters at creating something a little bit a step above. A lot of people cannot live up to the master energy. It's too heavy. It's asking a lot for some people, and a lot of sacrifice. It's like, imagine being a gymnast and having to sacrifice your youth to go to the Olympics. It's that kind of vibration. And being a master life path does not make you better than anyone else. Some people go, oh, I'm a master this, so I'm fantastic. No, it's very heavy and it's a lot of responsibility, but it can be beautiful if you choose to connect with it, if you choose to dedicate your life to that. So master number 11s, like you said, are a 2, but with the 11, it's that double 1 energy. So they have the sensitivity of the 2, so they're really intuitive and sensitive and soft. But so again, Tony Robbins is the perfect example. But with the double 1, it's like, remember, the 1 are those leaders. They're the intuitive, innovative, pioneering, free thinking kind of energy. You have the double 1.
Yeah. So
you're amplifying that 1 energy. You're not just a leader, you're a really intense leader. So
very strong. I know 111, a very good friend. She's such a strong person. Should make holes in the wall to achieve her goals. But she's also very sensitive, and you can approach her on her sensitive side as well and appeal to her sense of compassion.
They're very intuitive as well, and a lot of actually quite a lot of psychics, famous psychics, have 11. I can't think of anything at the top of my head that you might know, but they have 11 life paths because their path is a unique one for them, and they're here to connect through a very unique form with others and to heal others in a very unique way. So many psychics have 11 in their chart somewhere. It's very common. So yeah, intense 11 energy.
Okay, so it's very intense, like we see in Tony Robbins, basically. Wonderful.
And some people have associated Jesus with the 11. I mean, that's a bit, we don't know, but they try to associate the number with that kind of energy,
But having it has this energy of not only leadership, but taking care of others as well.
It's the connection to the divine with the 1 and bringing it back down to earth. And then the softness of the 2. So absolutely that intuitive, caring for others, being peacemaker, but in a controversial way, that's where the conflict is for them.
Yeah.
They find that they go through a lot of ups. All of the master numbers will go through a lot of ups and downs in their life because they're, the only thing that forces us to evolve really rapidly is challenge. And you would know in astrology, right? You look at where the challenges are in your chart and you get excited about them because that's where, your growth is.
Yeah, it's true. The roller coaster, for certain.
And I can guarantee for these 11, 22, 33 life paths, they probably have quite interesting charts because there'll be a lot of challenge in there, a lot of oppositions and squares probably, They have a lot of things where, maybe they have abuse in their childhood, that they have to go through being bullied, or and they have to go through losing and failing a lot in their life, you know, that those are the challenges that they will meet, but ultimately to create something bigger and better than themselves.
Yes, so they're given a bigger, a tougher pie of the portion, but also if they transform it, they come with bigger achievements and more impact to the world and something on a higher level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 22 then.
Well, 22, I find that the 22 and the 33 are even harder to achieve, to become that greater manifestation of that number. So most people revert to the 4 and the 6, but with the 22, it's known as the master builder. It's like you've got the precision of the 4, and then that intuitiveness of the 2. So you're here to create even the 4 is more about small details, learning the guitar, but when you're a master number 22, you're about creating something with fine details but big. So we call it the architect. It's like, master, you know, in the Matrix.
Wonderful. Yeah. No, that's really good description.
Yeah. So the master builder is the architect of life. So he's going to probably create something really big, you know, whether that is be an architect, but in a spiritual way, you know, where like creating buildings or forms or things, being part of projects that are really big, so much bigger than himself. And because he's that 2 energy where they tend to be in the background, you might not even know that he's running the show with this 22 energy.
Yeah, behind the scene guy.
So they're really here to create something huge. Master builder. That's the way to remember that energy number. I can't think of anyone to associate with that. I'm sure I could look it up to find out. But yeah, they're really powerful. Wonderful. Now the other number is the 33.
My partner is 33 actually. Comes down to 6.
There you go.
I'm very curious to see his divine mission of life.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Now there are 2 names. Pardon?
That seems to be like the higher the number gets, the more difficult your task becomes.
Yes. Yes. Oh yes. That's why we don't even say 44, because it's like impossible. It's basically, it's too hard. The 44 to make that, because already the 8 is a heavy number, and then the 4 is already really hard working. It's just most people, you just can't achieve that kind of intensity of those numbers. So that's why we stop at 33.
So very difficult that the 33 would be able to live up to that 33 energy.
Very few. Yeah. They tend to revert to the 6.
I'm raising the bar, baby, to 30.
Get ready for some challenges. So 33, I have 2 names for the 33. One is the rock star, and one is the master teacher.
Oh, I like that.
So, yeah, the master teacher.
Please.
Yeah. So I actually have a friend who is a 33 life path, and he's a musician, and everything is about in his life is about making music, and but it's not just about him creating music. I mean, he does it with every fiber of his being, you know, like he writes the music, he puts the band together, he teaches the other musicians, he creates the music videos, he does the advertising and marketing. It's just intense, the kind of, you know, and I pick him because remember the 6 also has that Venusian, the artistic, the sensory energy behind it. Yeah. So when we talk about them creating a craft, it's like this huge, you know, it's an empire for them, you know. But the other manifestation of it, or the truer manifestation, is they do all this to teach others. They really desperately want to be heard, and they want to be known for what they do. And they desperately want to be loved, the 6 energy, for sharing their knowledge with other people and for sharing their skills and their craft with other people. So the master teacher is here to really teach on a mass level, whether that be through a song that becomes hugely successful, or through, you know, like being a fashion designer. Even maybe the 6 energy can be very, very much like that, which allows women to feel their best. Wow. That's where the 33 energy can manifest. But like I said, the 3 is very difficult for people to like connect with that intensity. So yeah, it's a challenge for sure.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. But they can, if they are able to access this energy, they can manifest powerfully, basically.
Unbelievable things. Yes, manifest absolutely powerfully. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to plug my phone in just before it dies.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we don't lose our connection.
So, yeah.
I do want to I don't know if you do have any more time to talk about the personal years?
Oh, yes. Let's mention the personal years.
Excellent.
Calculate those.
Okay. Perfect. All right. I don't know if you can still see me. Excellent. Okay. So the personal years I want to talk about just lastly, because this is my favorite thing in numerology. Ooh, we're just bending a little bit.
I want to learn about them too.
This is the little bit of predicting that we can do. And there's also personal months and personal days, but let's just stick to the personal years because I find that that's the most important number.
Yeah.
So say, for example, we'll take your birthday again. So 2017. Okay. So what I've done to find out what your personal year is, we want to use your birthday, your birth month, and the current year that you're in.
Okay.
Now,
you don't.
And this will give us your personal.
You don't. I used to do it always wrong, calculating my personal year by adding the year I was born to as well, plus the year that. And
yeah,
no. I was be like, it's not working somehow. This numerology system.
Well, no, because actually you'll find that the year you were born is the cycle you entered into, the personal year cycle that you began. So, for example, I'm a life path 5. So I was born into a 5 cycle. That is why I have the energy of the 5 as well. So I don't know if that made any sense, but no. I was born into a personal year of 5. So
okay. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So let me add up these numbers for you. So we have 8, 10, 18, 19. Oh gosh, I think you're in a
number 1.
Oh, I think you're going into a 1. Is that right? So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah. Lots
15,
of new beginnings.
19. You're in yeah, you are. You're going into a
Do you consider it from the start of the year that you consider the personal year, like when January comes?
Really good question. Really, really good question. So basically, quite a lot of numerologists will tell you that it begins at the beginning of the year because you're using the year to make the calculation. Yeah. But here is my personal opinion, and a lot of other numerologists, you know, there's still other numerologists out there who believe this as well, is the year you were born, you entered into that vibration on your birth date, you know. So when you transition to another year in per personal year cycle, you don't actually go into the energy of your 2017 year until your birth date, you know, because say you're born in 1980, right? You weren't born until, say, in your case, April. So you didn't have any of that energy until April.
Yeah.
You weren't born yet. You didn't come to fruition yet. So that is when your year began. So there's no point in calculating the beginning of the year or like working out that the energy starts from the beginning of the year because you weren't born yet in that beginning cycle. So your energy hadn't manifested yet.
So you're still manifesting the previous year energy, the 2000.
Exactly.
Say I'm still manifesting 2016 year energy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what I do is I work out, well, in April, you're going to go into a 1 personal year. So you're still in your 9, which is pretty significant, actually, because you were in your 9 most of the time through a universal 9, because 2016 was a 9 universal year. You know, 2 + 1 + 6, that added up to a 9. So this is really significant because not only were you in a personal 9 year, but you were also in it during a 9 universal. So you felt that energy around you, within you, personally, or you know.
I left 1 continent.
So much ending.
1.
Oh my goodness.
Left everything that I've achieved ever. Kind of.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's
this
kind
is
of manifests powerfully. Yeah, I remember
now.
9 years ago when this happened again. I left from Bulgaria to UK.
Yeah.
Kind of like a big endings that happen in a 9 year. Anyway, so this is how you calculate the personal year.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's very, very powerful that we're at this, the transition between the 9 and the 1 is probably the most important transition that happens. So it's interesting that I get a lot of clients that come to me naturally when they're in their 9 or their 1 personal year anyway. It's like they know they're going through chaos, they need a reading.
Well, yes. Basically,
they know
my life
something's going on.
From my birthday last year, the moment I entered the 9, my life crumbled in a wonderful way. I would say.
Yeah.
It was like,
oh yeah,
all apart.
Oh yes, so significant. And so I'll start there actually, because I'll go through how the different personal years, how they work, and you'll understand already because you know a little bit about the numbers. But when you move from the 9 to a 1, you're starting in your whole new cycle. So on your birthday, you're about to start a whole new cycle. So what's happening is when you're going through your 9, you're being asked to purge everything from that you don't want from your old cycle. Because if you don't purge it, you're going to carry it into your new cycle. So you're forced to go through this like emotional, spiritual spring cleaning where you have to go, all right, friendships, relationships, home environment, the country I'm living in, the work I'm doing, if I'm studying, am I studying the right thing? Everything you're being asked to evaluate. Is this what I want to carry in with me for another 9 years? Wow. And if I don't, now's the time to eliminate it. And the 9 forces that of us. It forces us to just.
It's not like I was asking myself those questions. It just came back. You know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And it's powerful because, you know, if you look at how what's happening naturally, you know, if you're smart, you'll allow these things to happen. You'll go, okay, my relationship's ending, so I'm just going to allow it to end. I'm not going to push and fight. I know it's supposed to end. It doesn't feel right anymore. Then things go a little bit smoothly. For those of us who hold on really tight, life will put you into situations where you're uncomfortable, where you are just like a big argument happens and everything goes chaotic and you throw his clothes out onto the lawn and, you know, there's just drama. You know, that's the ways it can manifest in the 9 year. If you push, the universe will make it hard for you, basically.
And if you go along, I feel like the most liberating year of my life. Initially, it was hard.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
so much fun.
I feel free, you know.
Yeah. It can actually be a really exciting time because you know that you're changing and you know that you are not going to recognize who you're going to be. And that can be really liberating. Maybe not for life path 4s because they really like their stability, but really exciting for, say, a life path 5 or a life path 1 or a life path 7 because they love change.
Yes.
And this is what's interesting. You can match your life path to, okay, or for example, if you're a life path 9, that's a double whammy for you because if your life path matches up with your personal year, that's extra significant. You know, you're in a power year, your personal power year where you're supposed to be really on your path, you know, and pay attention to that year. It's very significant. The other thing, so that's our 9. It's about ending. And what ends up happening is you can feel really empty on the inside because you've done so much spring cleaning on your soul that you tend to feel really like, I don't even know who I am anymore, like, or what I want anymore. And you can feel a little bit lost with that vibration. This is a wonderful thing to tell people when they feel this way, is that's exactly how you're supposed to feel, because you can only build a whole new life for yourself if you empty the old one, if you make room for a new life. So sometimes when you feel really depressed, like I'm lost, I don't know where I'm at, and someone says to you, that's perfect. You're supposed to feel really, really
you're on the verge of new birth. Yeah,
exactly.
Otherwise, nothing. Wonderful.
It brings peace of mind to people who are going through a really difficult 9 personal year.
Yes. Wow. Very well said. Yeah.
So let's start the new cycle.
Good to do on a year 9, like what a thing.
Clean the house.
Avoid cleaning the house.
No, do clean the house. So clean the house, empty throw out old clothing. If you're struggling to manifest the physical stuff, you know, like ending relationships, ending jobs, ending whatever needs to end. Doesn't have to be everything, by the way. Everything will end. You'll know what feels right to let go of. Then manifest through doing, you know, throwing stuff out is a really good way to help the process along. The things you should avoid is starting things. So if you can avoid starting something absolutely brand new during a 9 personal year, I would suggest that. Only because they tend to not have too much life beyond the 9 year. So it's not always the case. You know, sometimes the ending comes with the beginning, so they come together, you know.
I don't want to get divorced again. I got married on a 9 year now again. Like, if number 1 will bring divorce, no.
Well, you will know this year anyway. Like, this year will show you if you're on the right path, because when you go in year 1, it's also going to be a beginning year, but also your life path year. So you will know very, very, very clearly, but, you know, on your birthday, if you're on the right path, in my opinion. So don't have any fear about that, because, you know, the purging process is the harder process.
Yeah.
But in general, it's not advised. Like, for example, if you're obviously, if you're ending a job, you have to start a new one, you know. So the ending comes with a beginning. But in the 9, it's more advice. The advice is about, you know, letting go, because to focus on the letting go process as opposed to starting. So say, for example, you've got a project idea, a great business idea. A 9 is a good time to get, you know, think about it and get the ideas and what do you really want to do, but not necessarily activate it just yet, you know.
That's a very good
to be honest, even in the 1, you're still going to be purging. You know, people assume that the 1, just because it's about new beginnings, they assume fresh, I'm going to have all this energy, we're going to go, it's going to be fantastic. And it will, but you're still going to be going through the ending process, because you know, you won't know until you're beginning something what you still need to get rid of. And you're really just planting the seed in the 1. You're not, the bud hasn't sprouted yet.
Yes. So number 1 is when new beginnings start happening. It's maybe
number 1, we plant the seed. Yeah. So planting the seed. It's about laying down the foundation for what you want in your new cycle. It's about getting a makeover. It's you know, cutting your hair or dressing a little bit differently, or think about going through the first house in astrology. It's very similar to that.
First
very
house,
fresh start.
Beginnings, absolutely.
Yeah. So we know that if you're going through a personal year of 1, be prepared for things to change. And, you know, you can try things and it won't work, but you're sort of working out what's going to work for you for the next 9 years. So it's okay. It's not supposed to be perfect yet. And you're still going to be a little bit confused because you've been left with all the emptiness of the last year. So you still feel a little bit lonely maybe, or a little bit empty, or a little bit sensitive because of all the things that transpired the year before. Because it can be a depressing year, the 9. So the 1 is a little bit of a recovery year, and also having fun and feeling enlightened and feeling free to try things. Yeah.
Yes. Good time for babies.
So yeah. Good time for, actually 2 is probably a better time for babies, I think. A 1 is still good, but you want to have a bit more fun, I think, in the 1. Yeah. I think 2, when you go into your 2 year, is a good time to have babies, because that's about partnership, the number 2, you know. In Roman numerals, it's two next to each other. So it's very much about relationships, the 2 year. So in the 1 year, we plant the seed. In the 2 year, we water the crop. We care for it. We care for the land. We care for our relationships. We care for our community. We develop bonds. You know, 1 year we meet people, but in the 2 year we connect with them. So that's where things start to really become stronger, and, like, you know, the family environment is stronger. It's a more of a patient and peaceful year. So you've sort of started your business and you're kind of just going away at it, you know, picking away at it bit by bit. Yeah, growing it, exactly.
Maintaining it.
Yeah.
I like that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice because it's a little bit more relaxing after the chaos of the transition between the 9 and the 1. So number 1, we plant the seed. Number 2, we water the crop. And number 3, the first bud sprouts. So in the 3 is when you've started whatever projects you started in your 1 year, you start to see the fruits of your labor. You know, you start to see the potentials. You get excited. You're like, oh, wow, you know, like I made a YouTube video in the year of the 1, but in the year of the 3, all of a sudden my viewers just skyrocketed, you know, like it took 2 years, but all of a sudden I have so much more interest in what I'm doing. So when you're in a 3 personal year, it's a very exciting time, a creative time. It's when you really get really into your projects and your environment, and you're really enthusiastic. Or if in the 2 you got pregnant, in the 3 you gave birth. You see, the creation, the birthing of the project really came about at that time. Even though you planted the seed.
Mother and father, 1 and 2, sun and moon get together and give.
Yes, that's correct. That is correct. Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. So that's what happens in the 3. So whether it's your child you birth or a creative project, you start to see the first, you know, like the glimpse of it in the 3 year.
Yes.
Then we get to the 4. So we saw the first bud sprout in the 3, and in the 4 we're maintaining the crop. So I'm using this analogy of, you know, being a farmer, I guess. So maintaining the crop, and the 4 is about going back to the hard work. So you've had your baby, for example, and now you're looking after the baby, and you're tired and you're exhausted and you don't have a lot of sleep. You're loving the process because you're really focused on it, but it can be exhausting, you know, like you have so much dedication. So you have to do the hard work. A 4 is very much about being very practical, pragmatic, doing the work that needs to be done to see your project succeed, that kind of energy.
Yes.
It sounds a bit boring.
No, but we need that. We need that. And
Absolutely.
I guess like the water and earth signs would feel much more comfortable with years number 2 and 4 that are about nurturing, about stabilizing, and such kind of excitable signs like fire and air. They'll be probably, number 1, I'm excited. Number 3,
yes,
action happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. That's a very, very good way to draw that connection. And even in numerology, remember the 2, 4, and the 8 have a relationship. 3, 6, and 9 have a relationship, and the 1, 5, and 7. So if you're any of those numbers in your life path, but going through one of those numbers in your personal year, you'll bend to it better. You'll relate to it better. You'll feel more comfortable in that personal year. So yeah, the 2, 4, and 8s will love the 4. So we're maintaining the crop, we're looking after the baby in the 4, whatever analogy. And then in the 5, this is good. The baby is at an age where, you know, things are stable, you've stopped breastfeeding, or in terms of the farming analogy, you're waiting for the plant to mature. You don't really have to do too much now. You can kind of sit back and relax and enjoy it. You know, you can go for a walk along the beach with the baby in the pram and enjoy your time there and meet with other people. And it's a really fun year. It's where you have a bit more freedom and you have more play and you're not too worried about everything else. You're meeting other people, you're traveling maybe, you're going out for adventures. Really fantastic year, the 5. It's so much fun. I love it. Like I obviously am a life path 5, so I have a great time during my 5 year. Now, if you're a life path 5, for example, when you have a 5 and you don't have an enjoyable 5, that's because you weren't expressing your 5 energies of freedom, expansion, and you weren't going out there and you weren't traveling or trying different things. You know, that's what needs to happen in a personal year of 5, especially for a life path 1, 5, or 7.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah. Number 6. So now we harvest. Now we harvest the crop. I try to use this analogy because it helps to see the process, you know. And remember, the 6 is the mother as well. So now we start to the projects really starts to take some legs, and you know, and you have to be at home to make it work. Because the 6 energy, remember I spoke before, when it comes to life path, it's very interior design and sensory. When you're going through a personal year of 6, it's actually that you really enjoy being in your home. So after you have had your fun in your 5, you want to enjoy your home environment. You want to enjoy your community. You know, you want to work together with your community and be with your family and bond with your family. it's a very fantastic time to have that bonding and to be at home. And you know, like you might find that you visit your family more in a personal year of 6, or you just spend more time at home, or you renovate the home, or you move home. Very home centric, the number 6 energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's a number 6. Number 7.
For relationships, a 6 year, number 6 year.
Oh, sorry, absolutely. Marriage, yeah, because you're already connecting with your family and you're spending time with your family. You know, you want to deepen that connection with your loved ones, and you want to deepen it if you're in a relationship. Very, very good time to have to get married, or even to get engaged, or to again, a good time to actually have a child. Is 6 year is another good time to have a child. But yeah, it's a very loving energy time if you connect, if you can tune in. If you have, you know, problems with family, it might heighten those problems in the year of 6, and you might make you feel a bit lonely. That's one way of looking at it. Or if you're not in a relationship, it's a really, really great time to go out and go on dates if you can, and put yourself out there more than you would any other year.
Wonderful. I like the 6.
It's a good number. Number 7. Okay, so we were preparing for the harvest, and in the 7 we're learning from the mistakes we've made. In the 7, it's really, you know, because we know the 7 life path as someone who is a real researcher and digs deep. So in your 7 personal year, you want to do that. You want to reflect on yourself. Really good time for learning and education. I would suggest great year for students to focus on their education. Even if you're not studying formally, it's a really good year to pick up a hobby or study something for fun that could actually add towards your life in a very significant way. It's a fantastic year for research and digging deep and just uncovering information you haven't uncovered about yourself. Really good year for you know, regression therapy, for example, where you might find that you're interested in things about your past, that, you know, you want to know more about your soul, that and you want to discover your spiritual side on a deeper level, because again, the spiritual 7, you know, the mystic 7 energy is in there. So it's a very studious, soul-searching year, the 7.
I remember when I was in year 7, I stayed at home in my number 7 house, and I just studied and wrote and worked and researched, and it was a bit lonely though. Can it be lonely? Number 7?
Yes, it can be. You know, because remember the 1, 5, and 7, they're independent vibration numbers anyway. So, but especially the 7 more so than the other numbers, I think, because they can be really mysterious, you know, and they're more happy about like learning astrology. Like that's such a wonderful thing to do in a personal year of 7, because you're learning about yourself, but you're also acquiring knowledge. You're getting that soul, that science and the spirituality connecting together, you know. Yeah, it can be a lonely year, especially, you know, but you probably want it after the 6, you know, where you've had that really connecting year. You're probably happy to have some time for yourself in the 7 year and just do things, research and study things to advance yourself.
Yes. Wonderful. And then number 8?
Number 8.
Yeah.
So when you go back to the farming analogy, it's where you're making your money off the crop and you're selling your harvest. The 8 year is business, money, success, recognition, power, prestige. You are in this cycle where if you've been in your job for 5 years and you're not really getting anywhere, number 8, you will get a promotion. Most likely you'll be promoted, you'll be paid more money, or you'll change jobs for a better position. It's a very powerful cycle for career. And if you're not in a job, for example, stay-at-home mum, you'll find that maybe you get a hobby that gives you money, or maybe your partner makes more money and you're able to invest that really wisely. It's just such a fantastic year for success as well. So say, for example, you've been working on a business project, like maybe if you think about when you made manifest Astrology, or when the web page was put up, or any of those things.
My new website went out during number 8, and it increased so much everything with work, and it was like, wow. It was like a culmination of some sort.
Yeah, and bringing more money in, and it's like all those things. It's such a powerful year for fame as well, you know, like you want to be a little bit better known. Probably the 8 and the 1 years are good for fame. People really notice you more than they would otherwise, because remember, the 8 is that Giorgio Armani charming, you know, energy. People notice the 8 man. So when you're in your personal year of 8, people notice you more than ever. You know, same with me. I went through in my 8 cycle, I got a promotion, 2 pay rises, and my band played with a very successful famous other band. So it was like all these like things happened all at once that I couldn't have expected, you know. And actually it was in my
an outer
very
yeah.
The thing I would suggest, if you're smart, save your money in your 8 personal year, because what comes next is the 9. And with all the changes that happen in the 9, it's wise to have that money with you so that you can walk through the 9 comfortably. Like if you need to quit your job in your 9, or if you need to move out and you need a new loan or any, that you have your money that you made from the 8 there to support your transition into the next cycle. So that would be my suggestion. If you're in your year of 8 and you can save, do it, because now you'll make more money now than you'll make any other year.
Wow, Bea, thank you so much. You gave us so much information and such a simple method. You don't need to know astrology. You just calculate numbers, and it's stunning how correct it is. Because when you are going through each year, I was going in my head through what was happening in my life, and it would correspond so powerfully. And wow, thank you so much for giving us 2 hours of your time, basically, to share for free this information with us. And you do personal readings, Bea, on astrolada.com, guys. I'm gonna put the link there if you want to have a personal reading with Bea. Can you tell us a little bit like how do you use tarot as well? You use numerology, but you don't only look at the personal year. You can answer specific questions if people have numerology, tarot.
Really good for compatibility as well, which is a whole nother topic in numerology.
Maybe we can do that another video about compatibility.
Yeah. That would be really fun, actually. Because the way you relate, absolutely. And that, obviously, name changes. People come to me for business names and name changes and things like that. That's just numerology, and also just to understand themselves better. But I love using the tarot with a full reading, because it confirms so much, you know. And the tarot gives me the answers, you know, like if people are asking really specific questions like, should I go down this path or this path? Numerology can help, because I can look at the numbers of those paths for sure, and I can feel the vibrational energy. But tarot really just clarifies it. So yes, I use tarot and numerology for readings.
Thank you so much, Bea. You're so likable. I should talk to you more often. Your energy just... So you said you're Life Path 5, didn't you?
Yes.
It's light, it's breezy. It's like it's uplifting. It's full of information and knowledge, and it's I love it. But
I love talking to you. No, and I love watching all the other videos you've done. You're a good interviewer, and I'm a 5, but I've got the Leo ego, so I love talking about myself and my knowledge.
Leo? So you're Leo sun?
Yes, Leo sun. Yeah, Scorpio rising.
So you have the depth as well, not just the power. And your moon is?
Gemini moon. So that's the but you know what, all learning through numerology, and then I learned so much more about numerology through your lessons, actually, because I've done some of your lessons on your website, and I know so much more about numerology because of how much I've learned about astrology. Ironically, it just connects so well when you allow it to, you know, and then the tarot does as well. But so
I'm going to try and start incorporating some numerology in my astrology readings, because I think it's so important, you know. Especially with this technique you taught us today. What's your number? Find the planet in your horoscope and what house it is. It's I think it's also an ancient method, but thank you for bringing this amazing knowledge to us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Bea. It's been amazing. People, if you want to see Bea's services, if you want to talk to her, you can send her an email and schedule, because Bea is in Australia, so maybe the scheduling time might be a little bit difficult. And we're gonna come soon again, maybe in a month or two, speaking about compatibility and numerology. That would be an amazing topic. And thank you for spending your Sunday, guys. For you, probably there is Monday already, Bear. Spending it with us. Yeah, for many it's already Monday. And really enjoyed that, Bear. Have a great day, night, morning, evening, whatever it is, guys.
Thank you. You too, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.